think so. I read all their press releases, and it was kind of this composability issue where I could kind of guesstimate that there might be 200 million Wi-Fi chips shipped per year. So that's about 40% of the Bluetooth penetration on an annual basis. So Bluetooth is running roughshod. So just in case you read another Slashdot article on Bluetooth dying, give them the middle finger for me. Profiles govern how multiple devices talk to each other. Profiles are basically, you can just say, this is how keyboards talk to each other, this is how mice talk to each other, this is how file transfer occurs, okay? So it prevents everybody from having to reinvent the wheel every time. The problem was anyone could write a profile. And because of that, it got very confusing. Some of you have heard me tell the story where I bought a headset profile thing for my ear, and my phone only supported the hands-free profile, and so while they could pair, they couldn't actually exchange audio data. Like, as a consumer, that didn't make any difference to me. Like, I didn't give a crap. Like, one thing went in my ear and made sound, and the other thing connected to the telecommunications network. And as far as I was concerned, if they could talk Bluetooth, they should do the right thing. Well, they didn't. So to clear it all up, they made icons. Wonderful icons. Anyone know what the arrows are for? File transfer. Very good. It took me a while, actually, maybe because I'm slow. And I think the first thing is actually a printer, but I'm not entirely sure of that. But anyway, we've now, if you see the printer thing on a printer, that'd be a dead giveaway. If you see it on something else, we might need to rethink what it is. So anyway, these are the profiles. They now officially have these things. You can download them from the Bluetooth.com or org website. Yeehaw. Common deployment scenarios. What's kind of interesting about Bluetooth is everyone thought Bluetooth would be another disruptive technology like Wi-Fi. Everyone thinks WiMAX is going to be another disruptive technology like Wi-Fi. Let's talk about some definitions of terms. If you call something a disruptive technology before it's actually been introduced in the market, it's not officially disruptive technology because you already see it coming, okay? It's not a surprise, it's not a disruption according to the definition of the word, okay? Wi-Fi was the first cheap wireless stuff that you could go buy as a consumer and do random things with. So people tried to do like Wi-Fi enabled headsets because they could, because it was cheap and they could buy the gear and integrate it. People did successfully build Wi-Fi metropolitan area networks through brute force and the will of God. They've been able to convince these local area network radios to go, what was the shot at DEF CON last year, 100 and some odd miles? You know, they had a shot between a U-Haul in Utah and a U-Haul down here in Nevada for 100 and some odd miles. People are building metro networks in Portland and Seattle and New York City based on a LAN protocol, right? Wi-Fi went everywhere it wasn't supposed to. Like, that was the beauty of it. It was disruptive. Well, now all the investors are trying to find the next cool disruptive thing to invest in. So WiMAX is going to be disruptive. No, if anything, WiMAX is just going to put Wi-Fi back in its place. So stop playing in the metro space. We got it here now, fellas. We really know what we're doing. Bluetooth, it's funny, I played around with a Bluetooth network access device, basically a hotspot for Bluetooth stuff. Tried to stream some video over it. It was all kind of robot-y, you know, except they weren't actually trying to dance. It was really bad video because the data rate was so low, the packet loss was so high. We had two Wi-Fi networks in the room that were just stomping all over the thing. Didn't work, you know. Bluetooth had this handy little thing that's not really high-powered usually, and it's not really high bandwidth. So it's managed to stay in the little niche that they designed it for, which is personal area networking. Printers, because I don't understand this. God's honest truth, has anyone ever printed anything via Bluetooth? Okay, 2 people. How many people own printers or have printers at work that are Bluetooth enabled? Okay, probably 3 or 4. That was not nearly as informative a survey as I'd hoped it would have been. I don't think that that's a common use case for me. Like, I don't think walking up to a printer and trying to figure out how to print to it via Bluetooth is any easier than just printing to it over the network or connecting up to the damn thing. But yet, they're putting radios in it, so it must be useful. So, wow, that really was not nearly as informative. All right, so moving right along off of that slide, a little bomb, I'll sweep that under the rug. By the way, if you want to write about something in the press, I don't actually have shoes on today. I tend to take them off. That's better than quoting me as saying, God damn it. Toby, you have a question? On what computing? No. What? Oh, no. Okay, no. First, so the questions were, well, they're from Toby, so they're a little silly. The first was, It's going to beat me up after this. The first was, am I familiar with Bluetooth being used for anything mesh related? No, and I think the follow-on is this dust computing and like things that self-form and kind of sensor net kind of idea. Is that what you're talking about? Little itty bitty. He's 50 feet away from me and he's going like this. I mean, part of the problem is architecturally, you got these things that are limited to 7 connections, which might be good or might be bad depending on how you're building this ad hoc network. The great things are they're low power. You know, people were trying to do these self-forming Wi-Fi networks for a long time, but the power consumptions tend to be kind of high because the radios weren't really designed to handle the ultra-low power situations that Bluetooth was designed to handle. The Bluetooth protocol, one of the reasons it's so complicated is it's designed to handle all these low power situations. And so using it for some kind of random mesh thing or sensor net thing probably is quite possible. Frankly, I haven't kept up on it. I think the whole mesh network and sensor network thing is best left to the academics right now because the practical applications asymptotically approach 0 for non-military personnel. You know, if you're in the military, it's great. If you're not in the military, like, oh, I need to set up a network in my house. I'm going to take this handful of crap and throw it into the living room. The dog peed on one of them, but I still got 5 more. You know, I'm not sure why Best Buy would want to buy into that market. And as Toby pointed out, feel free to ask questions in the middle of my talk. Thank you, Toby. This is a random slide. So, you know, Sun Tzu had to be quoted at some point. It was either Sun Tzu or Steve Bellevin, and I went for Sun Tzu this time. We have to understand the threats. And this is kind of important. This is a non-subtle thing. The last 3 talks I've given in Vegas have been, I think, kind of controversial from a, you know, not really in the mainline way of thinking. Like last year I gave a whole why you never want to use Linux and you should use Windows thing at DEF CON. Yeah, thank you. I assume you're applauding because I lived, not because you agree with it. And then yesterday I gave a talk on why trusted computing is a good thing. And today I'm here to tell you that wireless security isn't nearly as bad as you think it is. And it's something that we really need to struggle to understand. We need to figure out what the hell the threat model is for Bluetooth. You know, why do we care? And we need to first understand why, you know, why people are attacking it, how the attacks work, and then we can figure out how to defend against it. You know, if there's a lot of potential for attack, there's a huge attack potential, as Microsoft would say, a big attack surface, then we need to worry about it. If there's not a big attack surface, let's all go somewhere else. I'll buy the first round because we shouldn't be worrying about these things. Tryfinet.org, Major Malfunction and crew, have been leading the, you know, the charge of attacks for the last few years. I'm not saying other people haven't been doing research, but Tryfinet.org is really the big boys in the block. Major was here last year, you know, automatically dialing people's cell phones, and he's very theatrical about it, so I'm going to let him do demos of his attack tools. I didn't write any of them, whatever. You know, we've done some device discovery work as well as that stake has, and we did some tracking stuff. There are other people, there are academics that have looked into this. There's not a huge body of knowledge out there. I mean, God's honest truth. It's not something that's bubbled up to the concern of an enterprise level. So all you have are a few little random tools released by some vendors. You don't have great guidance. You don't have policies in the networks yet. And it's not really clear, you know, if a device, you know, if it's my cell phone, what's the impact of a Bluetooth-enabled cell phone in the enterprise? If I sync it up to the enterprise, what's the impact? People don't really know. Most of what's been really damaging, as I've said, has been poor implementation. And this has been led by probably 3 major factors. One, rush to market, okay? Bluetooth, if I'm a developer in a program where the expectation is set that what you're developing is going to be disruptive and really cool and everyone's going to want it, and I'm staring at a design spec, I'm a little nervous. You know, that's a high expectation. That's performance anxiety. More than 40% of men over age 40 have performance anxiety. So the rush to market, this need to get something out there and be the best, you know, Bluetooth was very buzzword compliant for a while. So that led to a bunch of crap being thrown against the wall. Not much of it stuck. Thank you, I appreciate that. Cookie Monster will come up here later. We'll talk about how to spell and pronounce things. Super complicated and sometimes not really all that clear protocol stacks lead to poor security. And frankly, not to beat this drum, every time I get on stage, I gotta say it, we don't train developers, okay? As much as I like to rail on developers, there's a lack of training out there for them. You know, they come out of college, and if they know how to do crypto, we're doing good. If they know how to prevent race conditions in their code, wow, they're doing fantastic. We're entering a really weird time for developers because they're really up against the wall. Systems are becoming way more complicated than they've ever have been. They're still not trained how to write secure code. And now we even have new low-level issues creeping back into the problem. Like, we had just started to tackle thread safety and things like that, and now we have dual-core CPUs and quad-core CPUs. Holy crap. I'm running this MacBook here, and it's a dual-core box. Let's get thread safe on multi-core systems. We have multiple processors we need to be worried about again. Writing secure, thread-safe stuff is going to be kind of hard. Developers, honest to God, they're in a really tough spot right now. And as much as some folks want to disparage the state, the developers say you're all dumb and idiots and whatever, honestly, the cards are stacked against them. So I encourage you when we're done, go find a developer, give them a big hug, tell them it's okay, we sympathize with you. They won't have a clue what you're saying, but karma, eventually will come around. Either someone's scanning me or calling me, I'm not sure which, but the scanning thing, hey, I might have just inadvertently had my phone owned. I think my phone's discoverable, as it turns out. Somebody with a BlackBerry up front's having fun. Anyway, blue diving, for those who have a Linux-based system, it's a utility that basically ties together a bunch of the Trifinet attack tools and allows you to run them on a Linux system so you don't have to run from a cell phone. The guy was a little worried about basically creating munitions, so he purposely broke everything, and you have to kind of fix it. It's a bit of a Inspector Gadget situation of stumbling through intentionally broken code to figure out how to make it all work, including a really interesting off-by-one error that you have to track down in order to make the scripts work properly. So you can download the code and try to run it, or maybe if it's GPL, just re-release it yourself. So the real risk, it's not that big of a deal, right? At least to the general public, it's not that big of a deal. Where's the big thing that's happened, the big scary thing that's happened to the enterprise, the national security because of wireless security? Paris Hilton's sidekick got owned, and that was a huge deal. I'm gonna just chuck this thing out the window. Paris Hilton's sidekick got owned, and they started selling more sidekicks. It was, there's no such thing as bad publicity, right? Poof, there you go. So nobody really cares about wireless security. I mean, they care enough to know, like, Wi-Fi was in the news, and people say, oh, I should have a key and whatever. But the truth of the matter is, any hotspot we go into these days, anybody in this room could own. You could take all the computers down in that hotspot, you could pop them. The tools are out there, it's not rocket science. But who's doing it? What do they stand to gain? It's a localized attack. If I care about owning one person, if I say, sir, in the red shirt, I'm going to steal your credit because for some reason I believe you to have really good credit and I want it. And plus you're the head of a multinational organization, so I'm going after you. That capability exists with Wi-Fi, with Bluetooth. That's fun and interesting. If I say, I'm going to own everybody in this room and steal all your credit, I'm going to do with it wirelessly, you're all going to flick me off at the same time. This is not the way it works. There's not grandiose attacks that are enabled. They're usually localized, specific attacks. You have to have a reason to want to carry them out. If there's someone trying to commit identity theft by popping people's boxes at Starbucks, they're one of the dumbest identity thieves in the world. Go stand outside the Veterans Administration building, knock someone over the head, and steal the laptop, okay? So, does that excuse us from dealing with the problem? No, okay? Just because it's not a problem today doesn't mean we shouldn't think about security, okay? We still need to do it. Is Bluetooth security still an issue for those worried about targeted attacks? Yes, okay? If you control a high-end enterprise, multi-billion-dollar market cap, or you're, three-letter agency somewhere or whatever, yeah, you still got to be worried about these things. Should we temper our response to ensure we stay within the bounds of reality? Absolutely. Okay? This is one of the hardest things for people to learn. Pardon the fifth soapbox that I managed to find up here, but it's really important in security.